All right, so Tallis Piaget is a motivational speaker. He's a role model. He's an author of a book critically acclaimed called Black Boogiemen, and he is here joining us, man. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brother Tony.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about you, man.
All right, well, I was born and raised in the north side of St. Louis, Missouri. One of the typical situations, I honestly hate to talk about my childhood, not because I'm embarrassed, but because it's really cliche, meaning, the teenage mother, she was absent, my father was absent, my grandmother, I was raised by my grandmother, and, had all the typical things, the drugs around, the violence, the gang members, but I always stayed in school. I focused on school. I knew that was my way out. I graduated, got a scholarship to school. I went to University of Missouri Rolla, which is a school of engineers. From there, I got my degree in biochemistry. From there, my first job was at a really big Fortune 500 agricultural company. I worked there as an analytical protein biochemist for 12 years. I reached a point where I felt like I needed more in my life. I was totally unfulfilled. Telling people that I'm a scientist, it was great. I got pats on the back. People wanted me around. But once again, I still felt totally unfulfilled. And I reached a point where I just said, I'm done. And I walked off the job because I had already written a book that was doing well. And I walked off the job to sell my book full time.
Wow, that's a great story. Now, how tempting was it growing up? And I would imagine it's a tribute to your grandmother. But how tempting was it to be part of the life that was around you?
Extremely tempting. There isn't one young brother in the hood that wouldn't be tempted when that's all you see. And once we get to the book, I'll talk about that. But when you walk outside, we don't see doctors and lawyers, basketball players, scientists, firemen, just the full gambit of these different jobs out here. What we see are hustlers. And one thing you also have to remember, Brother Tony, is I got that initial start of crack, which means that's when them young brothers, when it first influxed into St. Louis. So I saw when the young brothers was making that big money. I can tell you about when I was a kid and I ran to a young brother and I said, "Excuse me, Troy, can I get $1?" He said, this brother reached into his pocket, pulled out a bunch of hundreds, wrong pocket. Pulled out a bunch of 50s, wrong pocket. A bunch of 20s, wrong pocket. Then pulled out a bunch of miscellaneous money and gave me $1. How do you think I felt when I thought, I want to be like that?
Yeah,
I've never
right.
seen that much money. But one thing I thank God for is vision. And me being a natural scientist all my life, logic told me to sit and wait and watch. I did exactly that. And what happened a year later, Brother Tony, all of those brothers were either hooked on that drug, doing the same tap dancing that the crackheads were doing for them, or they were either in jail or dead. Either one of those three. That's it. And what was funny was that my peers still wanted to do that. And I couldn't understand that. I saw it and I was like, that is not the route I want to take.
So was the difference your grandmother, or was the difference you think was something that you just, God put his hand on you and says, "No, son, this is the path I want for you"?
Well, I don't have hubris. I'm not an arrogant person. So I will take some credit. I mean, we have to be honest. You know what I mean? I did make the choice to shy away from those things. But yes, I had some good role models. My grandmother, being an extremely strong woman, sent me to church. And at church, you do, I'm not a big church person, but at church, you do see some good brothers, some good married men that can teach you some great philosophy on how to be a man. And then if I can say one person that really affected me, Bill Cosby. I watched his show as a kid, and it was the first show where a black man was a doctor and the black woman was a lawyer, and they raised these kids. They were going to college, and I said, I want that. And lo and behold, Brother Tony, I became a scientist. I married an accountant, you know what I mean? And you get what you want in life. A lot of my young brothers wanted to be drug dealers. And they ended up being drug dealers and gangbangers. I wanted to be something greater.
Wow, man. That's really great. Now, Boogiemen is the book, man. Tell me about the book. What's it about? First of all, is it based on, is it a true story? Is it a novel? Is it based on tell me something.
It's a fictional story. But before I even go there, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Let's say we have a young brother like myself that grows up in the inner city. It's rough, it's bad. But this young brother does like me. He goes to school, he gets a good degree, he gets a good college, he's still in the hood, he becomes somewhat successful. What's the first move this young man makes?
Move. Move. I mean, you got to get out of that environment. I mean, to me.
And that is the first move we all make, and it's the worst thing we can do to our neighborhood. In turn, all of those great assets that come from there, they leave. And that what keeps our city so drab and void of the greatness. You know, in turn, our little boys and girls rarely see great men around them. So what my book is about is a really charismatic leader that ventures out into the suburbs. He grabs these great brothers and he brings them back into the worst parts of the inner city to live, not visit, but live. And what these brothers do is form this covert group called the Black Boogiemen. And the Black Boogiemen change the inner city by first affecting the aesthetics, meaning they beautify the surrounding area. They revamp the educational system, making it more conducive to the young urban thinking process. Then they begin to get rid of all of the gangbangers and drug dealers. And that's kind of that gratuitous violence that every good story needs, you know, that gratuitous violence and gore that every good story needs. They even get to the point where they begin to force the young boys to pull their pants up. Subsequently, by the time they're finished, they convert the inner city into something comparable to a utopian society where people from like Ladue are trying to get into our north side city.
People don't do. I want to live on Labadee. What?
Yeah.
What? Hey, what the heck? What?
You got me.
Wow. So, well, that's interesting though, because a lot of people, when they're able to afford to get out of a bad neighborhood, I mean, that's the first thing you do, because you don't want to. You don't want to get shot sitting on your porch or checking your mail. You don't want your kids in harm's way. Absolutely. So, in a way, some people would say those men are crazy. They've made it, and yet they're staying and putting themselves and their family in harm's way. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. What I say to that is, eventually we're going to have to get to a point where we are that crazy. You know, right now we are in dire straits. And what do we know, Brother Tony? Dire situations call for, dire measures. We can sit back and watch status quo. We can watch our brothers and sisters continually just degrade, watch the city degrade continually. And it will continue to do that. There is nothing that no slight movement is going to change that progress. What we're going to have to do is do something crazy. We're going to have to have a revolution. We're going to have to do something extremely crazy to make a serious change.
So we're talking with Tallis Piaget. His book is called Boogiemen. And in the notes that I got from your publicist, how far are you willing to go to bring peace to your city? That's a heck of a question. And I think you answered it. But, I mean, a lot of people can throw money at a situation. They can even throw a couple of hours of mentoring. But when you're done mentoring, but then you go back, to your house in Ellisville, and a lot of people, once they find that out, they don't take you serious.
Right.
So, in a sense, and I'm going to be real honest with you, I live out here in Wildwood, mostly because of the school district and because this is where my wife wanted to build a house. But I would imagine that you would probably have more credibility as a role model than I would, because you're in the trenches every day. I can tell you what I've been through in my life. You can too. But you are there. And so I guess in a sense, I have to tip my hat to you on that. But is there any truth to that, though?
Well, what I can say is, don't get it twisted, Brother Tony. This is a fictional story.
Yeah.
I have not per se, I am in Florissant. I have not per se moved back into my old neighborhood. Now, my family's still there, and I visit them frequently. And like I said, I am doing the mentoring thing. But this is what the book is about, and this is something I would love to do. Is make a group of Black Boogiemen, but it's theory. What's the likelihood of brothers really relinquishing their big houses in Wildwood and Florissant, for a house, like you say, on St. Louis Avenue in Sarah, but hopefully something, hopefully we can think like that eventually.
Yeah. Well, the book is called Boogiemen, and
Actually, if I can correct, it's Black Boogeyman.
okay, Black Boogeymen. Okay, I
Yes.
see it right here. I'm sorry, man.
No problem.
It is set in the inner city of St. Louis, and Dr. Trenton Branch. Now, how do you come up with the name Trenton Branch?
I've actually been working on a few books, and the protagonist always has the first name T and the last name B.
Okay.
Um,
And
it's
the reason for that is what?
My family are the Browns. My first name is Tallis. I guess
Okay.
I'm telling everyone my real name now. Piaget is actually my middle name, and
Okay.
that's the name I go with. But my last name is actually Brown.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's a little arrogant, making all my protagonists, have my initials. But
No, I think I no. I mean, because you know what? In a a long time ago, Alfred Hitchcock always made a cameo in all of his movies.
There
It's
you go.
kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's
There
kind of
you
cool.
go.
It's kind of one of those things. So
yes, sir.
so is all this about that's in the book? All the stories in the book, the whole thing, is it based on your experience, or did you interview other brothers in the inner city and ask them for their experiences, or what?
Well, actually, if I can be frank, this book came to me like a thief in the night. It is a culmination of a bunch of conversations I've had with a bunch of brothers, even women. But this book came like a thief in the night. And this is another thing I kind of hate to talk about because it makes me sound crazy. But as I wrote this book, something was talking to me. I could sit for 4 hours and just type consistently without thinking of one word next. It was honestly like something was spitting to me. And when it came to like the action scenes in the book, I would honestly see something like a picture in front of me, and I would just sit there and type the picture. And it took a year approximately to complete the book, and then about another year of editing. But that is how that book was written. But
Wow.
essentially, it is it is a culmination of a bunch of ideals from conversations I've had with a bunch of highly intelligent brothers.
Okay. Tallis Piaget's book is called Black Boogeymen, and it reveals what can happen if people in neighborhoods stand together as one and decide that, you know what, this ain't gonna happen anymore.
Yes,
This is the end of the sagging pants. This is the end of the drug dealing. This is the end of this, that, and the other that everybody complains about
Exactly.
and have legitimate complaints about. But
Absolutely.
these brothers in the book, they roll up their sleeves because it's all about, anybody can talk. Anybody can call like a radio station and complain.
Yes.
This is what's wrong in our neighborhood. Well, what's the answer? Click. Hello, hello, hello. It happens. I've experienced that at doing a radio show that everybody has a complaint. But everybody has possible in their mind a solution, but nobody wants to put a plan of action in motion.
Right.
I don't have time.
Right.
You know?
Right. And even if they do have great plans, they give it to you. Here, you implement these plans. I'm gonna go over here and drink my Mai Tai.
Yeah.
But if I can tell you what really initiated that book, because like I said, I was working on my book that's going to be my Harry Potter. This is going to be my magnum opus. It's called Rebirth of Polytheism. That's going to be great. But I was watching a newscast one day, and a man was leaving the Schnooks on Union and Natural Bridge.
Got you.
He was leaving the Schnooks, and this young man approached him, put a gun to his face, and said, "Give me everything you got." The old gentleman complied. Not only did he give him his wallet, he gave him the groceries and everything he had. What did the young man do? He shot him in the face, proceeded to shoot the old man in the face. Now, growing up in the hood, I've seen this, I've heard this over and over. The news plays these situations over and over. We get so desensitized, we don't even think about it. We get so inundated with this negativity, we don't even think about it. But every now and then, Brother Tony, you know how you hear that story that sticks in your craw, that really incites rage in you? And it did. And I spoke to my little brother who's, if you saw us, you would think we were raised in different areas. He's always been hood, and he's still really, really hood. And he's kind of my connection to the hood. And I spoke with him about the situation, and not only did he not condemn what this young brother did, he condoned it. He said, "You can't leave witnesses in situations like this." Brother, now I got upset, but he did show me how these young brothers are thinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just lost, man, just so lost. But it enraged me. And I just told him, I said, "You know what, man? We need a cleaning crew. We need a group of black men to just come through this city and clean it up. And I went home and I typed them first 50 pages that day.
Wow. So your brother being of this mindset, uh, have you given up trying to show him the right way, or because it's a lost cause, or I mean, what do you do?
Brother, I kind of gave that up a long, long time ago. Actually, my brother and I are close. It's really funny. People are amazed at how close we are when we're truly, opposites. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Um, this this brother has always been what he is, and I've been his big brother. I've been going to school, and I've tried to lead him the right way, but he's wanted to do his own thing. He's always loved the gangs. He's loved the drugs. He's loved the fast money. Um, and I've always showed him and told him the right way, things like that. But but I've also always accepted him for who he is, and I think that's why we've always had a good relationship. Um,
Does he respect you?
oh man, he respects me to the utmost, and it's so funny because growing up, him and all his friends, it used to be funny because I could be with my professional friends, and he and his crew would come. And I mean, these brothers look like they eat raw meat for dinner, But they come up to me and they just show me so much love. They all call me Big Bruh because I'm his big bruh. Yeah, yes, indeed. They all show me love. It's not an issue at all. But that's just the path he chose. And
But
I could really do. We make our own choices, brother Tony. You know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You cannot make someone lean your way.
Right. Right. Do you live in fear that you're going to get that call one day?
Always have.
I don't know if I could do
Always.
that. I think that would drive me crazy. I would think I would be nuts. I would worry to the point of an ulcer, man. What do you do? Do you lean on God? Do you I know you pray for him every day.
Of course, I pray for him. Um, I have to say, and this is where the desensitization comes in. Just dealing with it so much. Honestly, I was just in the old neighborhood Saturday, and it just so happened that a bunch of old friends happened to come. We were sitting and talking, and we thought about how many friends we've lost. And it's amazing. We brothers who grow up in inner cities in America, we are like Vietnam vets.
Right.
The amount of friends that we lose, it's ridiculous.
Right.
We should have what is it?
Postpartum, not
post-traumatic
postpartum.
stress.
I was gonna give you a postpartum, right? Post traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, yeah.
We should have that. And then you sit there and wonder what's wrong with these brothers. Why we're so cold? Why when we're walking down the street, our face looks grim? You know what I mean? We live a really rough, hard existence, bro. Really, there is no reason that a kid at 16 should visit more funerals than somebody 50.
Wow.
I saw what's the Aaron Rodgers when someone died in Green Bay. I think it was last year, or the year before. They interviewed him, and this gentleman said that, "Hey, this was my first funeral." I'm like, really?
Wow.
You're almost 30 years old, and this is your first funeral? By the time I was 18, I had visited at least 10 funerals of guys my age or younger. And once again, this all plays a part into that angst, that anger, all these negative emotions. We just don't understand why we have them, why we feel them. But that all plays a part in that,
And all this is part of the book.
Yes, all of this is part of the book. I
Wow.
try to educate people, but I think the major thing that is part of the book and the major thing that when I mentor, I try to tell people is that you have the power. We have the power. And I don't just say, you can be president. I don't just say that. I say, you can be president, but you can also be a bum. You have that power.
Yeah.
You have to let them know the truth. You have the power to be something great and magnanimous, but you also have the power to be something small and insignificant. It's your choice.
Wow. That is Tallis Piaget. His book is called Black Boogiemen. We'll put a link in the show notes down below where you can click a link and buy the book. It's a great book. It's based on a lot of things: conversations, life experience, witnessing things, and just everything. And yet, it in a way has some solutions. The question is, like I said earlier, how far are you willing to go to bring peace to your city?
Yes,
That's the
indeed.
thing. So,
Yes, indeed.
well, Tallis, I appreciate your time, man. It's a very interesting talk we've had. I look forward to doing more. When's your next book gonna come out?
I am because Tony, I'm not joking. No one likes this book. Everyone loves it. You know, after putting it out, I was actually intimidated by the potential, really, because people are fanatic about this book because they want change as well. They want this revolution. So everyone, like I said, I wanted to finish that Rebirth of Polytheism, but everyone wants this Black Boogeyman Part 2, so I plan on finishing that by the end of summer.
Okay, very good. So we'll talk again about that then. So that'll be great.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Brother Tony, I cannot express my utmost gratitude. I'm so honored. It's a pleasure to talk to you right here and now, and I look forward to talking to you much, much more, my friend.
That's Tallis Piaget. The book is called Black Boogeymen.